Welcome everyone to Biz Talk. I'm Michael Wang here in Beijing. Our focus today, tourism. According to the UN World Tourism Organization, the sector is one of the fastest growing in the world. Business volume related to tourism equals or even surpasses oil exports, food products, or automobiles. 5.5 billion. That's the number of domestic trips expected by the China Tourism Academy in 2023, generating travel revenues of around $700 billion as forecasted by China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism. So for more on the tourism industry, I want to bring into our conversation Zoritsa Urosevic, who is the executive director at the UN World Tourism Organization. Dr. Fanny Vong is president of the Macao Institute for Tourism Studies and an executive board member at the Pacific Asia Travel Association, or PATA. And Dr. Xiangyan is an associate researcher at the China Tourism Academy. Dr. Liu joins me right here in the studio here in Beijing. Fanny, I want to start with you and maybe give us the lay of the land first. Set the context for our audience. What is the state of the global tourism industry right now when it comes to the recovery? I know there's going to be differences between regions, but how do you see the state of global tourism right now here in 2023? It feels like the pandemic years were so far away and yet they're so close.
Hello, Michael. How are you? Very pleased to be here with everybody. So about the global outlook for tourism, I have tried to dug out some figures, and based on UNWTO's forward-looking, scenarios, we can expect that international tourist arrivals could reach 80 to 95% of pre-pandemic levels. So that is a really good sign. And as I'm from PATA, I have also tried to find some, PATA forecasts. The picture is also very good. Actually, PATA forecasts that most of the travel within Asia will be from Asia. So it's an Asia to Asia kind of travel that will be dominating between 2022 and 2025. So I say that we are really reaching near pre-pandemic levels and maybe even better in the near future.
And the state of the tourism recovery here in the Asia Pacific, Fanny, I mean, is that gaining momentum? Is that picking up speed? Or are there also certain challenges that you see in the recovery here in APAC as well?
Well, according to the statistics that I saw from UNWTO and also PATA, we see a very good picture of Asia Pacific recovering. Tourism figures are growing. But of course, there are also challenges. And I think as everybody knows, there are geopolitical challenges, also oil prices, inflation. And don't forget, many people just came out from the 3-year, very economic hardship. Some people may have lost their jobs. Some may have been unemployed for a long time. So economically speaking, maybe not everybody has the means to travel as much as they desire.
Yeah.
But I think the desire is there, and when the opportunity comes, people will just go travel again.
Yeah. Zoritsa, I want to ask you, what do you think are the UNWTO's key priorities going ahead?
Our key priority is first to listen to what our countries are telling us, because we, as a UN organization, an intergovernmental organization, we are bound to follow what the countries are telling us. They are telling us that there is a shift in the governance model of tourism. So destinations are really at the forefront of accurate attention. But then destination as such doesn't mean much, because you need to look at the uptake of technologies, and you have to look at the aspect of sustainability, being it social sustainability and being it environmental sustainability. And in the social sustainability, I think there is an incredible opportunity as well for education, for I can say creating more jobs and better jobs in the sector.
Yeah.
As you know, tourism employed before the crisis 1 out of 10 people in the planet, and about half of those were female. So, and now, as the world is shifting, maybe there is an opportunity for youth as well, because technologies are more associated with young people than they are with other generations. So I think that there is going to be a change in the age range of tourism workers. So we are monitoring all these, I can say closely, accompanying government to shape and I can say craft the right policies, while looking as well at sharing new innovative business models which are taking place today.
Okay. Dr. Liu, I'm going to come over to you and maybe give us a sense of how China's tourism industry is rebounding following the country's reopening.
Actually, we anticipated that the domestic tourism will be the first to bounce back to the pre-pandemic levels. Probably the numbers of domestic trips will reach about over 90% of 2019. But as to the international tourism, that's not so optimistic. We consider the outbound tourism, the number of outbound departures, and I think will recover to the about 40% of 2019. As to the inbound market, it recovers the slowest. But thanks to the reopening policy at the end of March this year, I think with the easing of visa application process, more foreigners will come.
Right.
Yeah, maybe the full recovery we expect in next year or the year after next.
Yeah. Dr. Liu, I want to follow up because the UNWTO actually published a guideline pre-pandemic saying that Chinese tourists, they are the largest tourism source group and they spent over $277 billion in 2018. So this is obviously a very big revenue source for the tourism economy overall on a global basis. So how optimistic are you when it comes to Chinese outbound tourism, let's say maybe in the medium term? Because it does take an economy maybe a full year or a year and a half to recover from the pandemic. China, of course, not even a full year yet when it comes to pandemic recovery. But once we get to maybe at the 2 or 3 year mark post-pandemic, how optimistic are you that we will see once again that surge in Chinese outbound tourism, which will provide a lot of opportunities, I think, for local communities around the world?
Yes, I think the reopening of the Chinese borders to the international tourism is definitely will benefit the countries neighboring China first, especially the southeast countries. Actually, according to our data, the recent data, about 40 million outbound departures have been received by the foreign destinations. So most of the outbound departures goes to the Hong Kong, Macao region. But still, 20% goes to the nearby countries, including Thailand, Japan, and South Korea. So these countries will firstly benefit from the Chinese outbound markets reopening.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's understandable, right? Because these areas are very close. For the Chinese
traffic
mainland.
Cost is lower.
It's lower as well.
And the close culture, and also. With the traffic, the airlines are more. They have more airlines, more flights between China and these countries. Yeah.
Let's shift perhaps to behavior changes post-pandemic, Fanny. Have you seen any changes, you think, in tourism behavior or emerging trends following the pandemic?
Well, it's sort of like mixed. First, I see that people are more cautious in traveling because of the reasons that I have shared a while ago, like economic reasons, right? High prices. And also, tickets have become more expensive. If you've noticed, airline tickets have become more expensive. This is one thing, people are more cautious. But I also have friends who are, more optimistic. There are also, this pent-up desire to travel again, especially to shorter destinations. And also people become more conscious about sustainability. They are more interested in perhaps in health tourism, in medical tourism, ecotourism. They're willing to pay a little bit more to ensure that they don't leave too much carbon footprint. So I think it's really a mentality shift or an awareness finally among travelers that they have a responsibility in keeping the earth healthy.
Yeah, a new opportunity when it comes to supporting global tourism. Zoritsa, I want to follow up and get your take on smart destinations. What you think about the potential is on this front.
Yeah, smart destinations have been, I can say 10, 15 years ago, the front runners of destinations. Today, I don't even think the word is adopted anymore to the context, because before a destination like islands or cities will praise themselves of offering free Wi-Fi in the city. Today, with the technology we have, I have two phones only, but with the phones we get that facility everywhere. That's one. Second, smart destination today are much more as well related to sustainable transport. Another way of moving in destination, and as well the capacity to offer, I can say, front-running technologies to strengthen your experience or to facilitate your experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you see that trend perhaps on the Chinese mainland as well, Dr. Liu, in terms of ecotourism, for example, more sustainable travel? Are there new and emerging trends here on the Chinese mainland when it comes to tourism?
Yes, actually, according to some survey, over 60% of the respondents, the Chinese respondents, said they will ecologically in the future. They care more about the ecosystem programs launched by, I think, hotels and also the scenic spots in China, but mostly in China, when we talk about the ecotourism, we will focus more on the social development, especially in rural areas in China, especially those in the west part of China. By developing tourism industry, many programs launched by the government and with the private sector, for example, the big travel enterprises like C-Trip, they have a private and they have public and private programs. I think there's a program called C-Trip Village Resort, and through that resort, people will get more jobs in the local, and they have. The locals are also encouraged to open their own business in the village. For example, the homestays. Now you come to China, you will see various kinds of homestays with different themes. Yeah. Many of them are full of, I think, traditional culture, really Chinese culture. I think during the past several years, the rural areas have been seeing growth in tourism development. And with the growth in tourism sector, the infrastructures are much better now. And with the high-speed train, and people can get to these rural areas much easier. Yeah. I think in the future, with the most convenient traffic, with the more focus on the rural areas promotion overseas. Yeah. I think some interesting, some foreigners who are really interested in China will definitely come to those rural areas. So I think this is a trend in China to encourage the locals, especially in rural areas, to join in the hospitality industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Zoritsa, what is the UNWTO doing specifically to promote more rural tourism? I mean, are you working with local governments, right? National governments, local communities? Yeah. What's going on that front?
Okay. What happened is that in 2020, before we even knew that we were going into a COVID crisis and a pandemic, the Secretary General Zoritsa launched, we have a theme every year, and he launched the theme of tourism for rural development. And as you very well know, tourism has the capacity for economic diversification of rural area, because rural area mainly relate on agriculture, and tourism is an incredible value added as an activity to activities in rural area and remote area. Of course, there are some critical steps in accessibility and so on, but the potential is there. So we have launched an initiative called Best Tourism Villages, which is an initiative which provides, I can say, a ranking, very fair ranking with criteria and indicators. But we do not stop there. what we have as well is we have a number of destination, mainly villages, which are then supported to be upgraded to the best tourism villages, meaning that it is like it's like a micro destination management model that we developed, which works very well. We have an incredible uptake. We have more than 120 villages in 2 years that have been identified as best tourism villages. In our next General Assembly in Uzbekistan, 16 to 19 of October, we will be announcing the third round of best tourism villages, which is going to be between 40 to 80 villages, which are actually complying with all the criteria that are required to be classified as such. And of course, about the same amount of villages, which now we are training, offering online training, but as well on-site training for improving the level and the standards to comply with the criteria of one of the best destinations in villages.
Yeah. So we touched upon a lot of elements of tourism when it came to recovery, for example, in terms of how technology is impacting tourism these days. Would love to get your view in terms of how the UNWTO is really promoting sustainable tourism these days in a post-pandemic era.
Actually, technology have been critical even during the crisis, and I can just share how our journey started immediately after the declaration of the pandemic in Geneva by WHO. Our Secretary General met with Dr. Tedros on the 9th of March, which was just preceding the announcement of the pandemic, just a few days after. We have not waited 1 second. By the following months, we launched innovation competition for startups to share what would be the possible technologies that could be helping even during the crisis. This was the biggest uptake ever. It was called Healing Solutions. And we had about 3,000 submissions from all over the globe. Actually, some of these technologies have been used 2 years after by many countries to actually monitor testing, entry, protocols, and so on. Mm-hmm. So we definitely have a stake in that sphere. Regardless of that, technologies have as well been enabling many destinations and private sector and properties to be on the market, just simply by being present on the web. So basically, that is something that is a trend that is going to continue. It has created an incredible uptake. It was already on the very high curve of growth, but it has even increased during the crisis and the post-crisis.
Yeah.
To respond to your question on how do we take up sustainability, you very well know that we have all seen these pictures of the world without a cloud, the world without a red, the world without emissions. I think that we have seen during the pandemic that we had to adapt our lifestyles very seriously. We could not go out. We had to find our own space and happiness at home or very clear to home. This is a pattern that has influenced many changes in the customer behavior, looking for places which are calm, quiet, where people can regenerate even closer to their homes. But as well, it has changed a lot in the governance of destinations. And we have seen that we can live differently. I think that the consciousness of the climate footprint, the carbon footprint when it comes to travel has become something very much in the mind of people. It is something that people are very conscious, and the demand for I can say sustainable destinations or products and experiences has been increasing. But as well, there has been a shift in the type of destinations. There has been a diversification in the destination people want to visit. For example, during the crisis, many countries such as China, for example, and in Europe, this has been a huge success. Travel in their own country, in the countryside, in mountains, in rural area has increased. And actually, currently, we just had a survey with all our member states. One of the most important initiatives that they appreciate in the work we do is the development of rural tourism.
Yeah.
So there is a trend on that.
Yeah.
There is a huge trend. And there is as well a huge trend on changing the patterns in terms of consumption and production on the SDG 12, which relates to energy efficiency, water efficiency.
Yeah.
That has been, I can say, accelerated and increased by the second big crisis that the world has faced with the unrest in Ukraine, and where we have seen a huge jump in energy prices and food prices. But energy prices, which are critical to the conduct and the management of any business in tourism.
I want to maybe touch upon technology, Fanny, in terms of how you see technology may perhaps boost tourism growth here in China and abroad as well, and especially with AI being all the buzz right now. What do you think artificial intelligence can do to really propel further growth in tourism?
Well, I think technology is really affecting every walks of life, every industry. Tourism is no exception. So the use of AI, use of technology is getting more and more extensive in tourism, as we can also witness ourselves in Macau. We have been, we see hotels calling themselves smart hotels, in room amenities, a lot of other, services they provide are AI-driven. Big data, for example, they use a lot of big data to capture, try to profile their customers so that they can provide personalized service. And this is not Macau alone. PATA has also done some studies, and we see a lot of usage of technology for example, on social media, promoting destinations, right? Without you knowing, right? They're pushing you messages, pushing you tailored, advertisements to trigger off an interest in travel in general, and in particular to certain destinations. I'm in the education sector ourselves. We also feel the need to nurture people who are well-versed with technology, as well as having specialized knowledge in tourism. So we have just launched some postgraduate programs combining technology and tourism. So this is the trend to go.
Yeah. But how effective do you think, Fanny, is when it comes to social media in terms of promoting tourism? I mean, as a viewer, as an audience, I might maybe see a short video, but does that actually translate into perhaps visiting a destination?
Well, I think service providers like hotels, travel agencies, airlines, they are getting smarter when they use social media. So it's just not like just posting attractive pictures and visuals. Of course, they have to be attractive, but they also have, links, they have ways to make you connect with the photos, and then to a certain websites or to platforms that you can continue on impulse, for example, to purchase tickets or to find days or to find activities in the destinations. So it's a combination of different technology that put everything together to make it a perfect opportunity for customers to follow up on having seen a picture or on having commented on user-generated content.
Yeah.
So I think you cannot be left behind. I mean, you cannot afford to be left behind in this wave of technology.
Yeah. But it can't all be just about technology, right, Fanny? Because there needs to be a balance, I feel, between tourism, technology, innovation, and actually preserving that authentic travel experience. What do you think?
That's very true. So some of the challenges in using technology is you have to find a balance, right, between using technology so that everything becomes automated, but you also have to give the human touch. You have to maintain the human touch, because tourism is a people-to-people industry, and PATA has always stressed this, that in tourism industry, foremost, you have to have sincerity in services. Service is number one, right? Service, and you give excellent service backed up by technology. Yeah. So the thing is, you have to find this good balance.
Yeah. That human touch when it comes to tourism. Dr. Li, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, as to the technology usage in China in travel sector, I think many big travel corporates like Ctrip, they just introduced a large language model called 携程问道 in Chinese. Actually, by this model, the travelers, the customers can ask for recommendations, really impartial travel recommendations according to their requirements. So this is one of the, I think, called generative AI, just like ChatGPT. According to the statistics, we know that over 80% of the travel enterprises are MSEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. So according as to them, it's really hard for them to design and to launch just such a big program, big model. But according to our talking with the enterprises, some tour agencies, I think, they're just beginning to use those AI tools, just like the ChatGPT. For example, travel service providers are using it to automatically generate the draft destination travel introduction. For example, they want to do the web page. They just ask the ChatGPT for the description, a basic introduction of the, for example, Beijing, the forbidden city. So the ChatGPT will give you the brief introduction of this scenic spot in multiple languages. So this is really cutting the costs, the labor costs.
We really are, I feel, entering into a new era of global tourism and tourism in general, spurred on by technology. Tourists might turn a little bit more inward domestically for towards their own countries. I mean, inflation is still quite high in many parts of the world. There's a lot of global economic uncertainty. However, tourism, of course, brings a lot of development and revenue for many local communities around the world. Or my first follow-up is, are you concerned about that inward shift towards more domestic tourism and less international travel?
I don't think the trend is going to go down to curve. And despite, as you rightfully say, the increase of prices, the prices elasticity that has to be reflected because of the various economic crises that we are going through, people are still traveling. You can just see it by the incredible uptake and recovery rates in many destinations. I mean, currently we are at 80% for the first quarter globally for international tourism recovery against 2019 numbers. And you know, some regions such as the Middle East have done 15% more than the level of 2019. So I think there is a shift in the desirable destination, and we can sense it. But I don't think that people are going to reduce travel. They may be going to travel longer when they go abroad, so that they can capitalize on their trip and on the costs that incurs. They might decide to do maybe 2 destinations instead of 1. So combining this, you know, that is as well for saving on cost, but as well satisfying yourself. And as I say, travel is part of our dreams and DNA today. It's really part of the lifestyle. Everybody aspires to travel. And on your question on increasing domestic, we have seen an incredible uptake, and I'm sure in China you monitor very well as well domestic tourism. I mean, you have seen a huge increase, which has brought, of course, not foreign exchange, because this is the expenditure capacity of local population and citizens, but it has brought a lot of jobs. And it has actually maintained many jobs which were at risk while international tourism ceased.
But Dr. Liu, I want to come to you and talk a little bit more about cultural tourism 3.0, which I believe is a relatively new concept here in China. If you could talk to us a little bit more about that.
Actually, we can see this is cultural tourism 3 point. And when we talk about this, we need to talk about the cultural tourism first. The first version. Actually, the first version, these different versions means they have different development models with different drivers. In the first version of cultural tourism development, they focus more on the scenic spots based on the historical heritage and as well as the natural beauty like the mountains. But in the second, in the cultural tourism second area, I think we focus more on the newly built culture sites. Like theme parks, many theme parks. For example, I think in the 1990s, in Xiangyan, we have the Window for the World. It's a theme park, and later we have many other theme parks by built by many big corporates. And I think right now we are in the culture tourism third world. In this age, we focus more on the everyday lifestyle. So tourists are sophisticated travelers now. They travel a lot, the Chinese travelers. They want to have unique experiences. They want to be immersed in the local life. They want to visit the locals' parks. In this age, travelers are more curious and eager to explore all these everyday spaces, and that define a place's culture. So in this area, the destinations, the governments, and also the travel enterprises need to focus on the everyday things, everyday items. They need to build the destination not just only for the tourists, but at first for the locals. If the locals are happy, they have a happy life, they can enjoy everything here, then tourists will come. So I think that's the meaning of the third word of cultural tourism.
But I'm sure there's a lot of other sites like that across the Asia Pacific as well, Fanny. So I'm wondering, how do we increase connectivity further when it comes to APAC? Because this is such a vast region. Asia Pacific, I feel, needs more infrastructure to connect the different parts of the region as well together. Zoritsa was talking about, best tourism villages, and I feel Asia Pacific has so much more to offer on that front if only these places can be better connected. So how do you see perhaps increasing connectivity to boost tourism here in APAC? Fanny?
Yes, PATA really focuses a lot in connectivity. I understand that it is equally important to build not only hardware infrastructure, but also software connectivity, people-to-people kind of connectivity. So the hardware part, we know that, for example, institutions like Asia Development Bank has a lot of grants or loans to countries to help them to improve infrastructure, because connectivity is really important. And countries that work together, especially neighboring countries working together to develop or branding regional tourism, can benefit from the synergy. But on the other hand, software connectivity, like connecting platforms and people and services, is equally important. For example, PATA, we host annual events like summits, conferences, travel marts to connect sellers and buyers, providers, and consumers. So in such a way that we can bring the best out of destinations, and also we help sellers understand better the needs of the consumers. So both hardware and software connectivity in terms of infrastructure, also platforms, networks, I think will be very important for sustainable tourism development, and also to help promote remote destinations, second or third tier destinations, cities, provinces that want to be known, want to receive these huge increase in tourists coming into the future.
Zoritsa, I want to come back to you, because these great tourism villages, I think, is a fantastic idea when it comes to boosting local development as well. But again, I want to ask you in terms of how do people actually get there, because a lot of these places might be a little bit remote. So how should governments, you think, in the private sector think about balancing these various trade-offs? We need the infrastructure to get there, but then we also need sustainability as well. We need to maybe avoid over-tourism. We need the sustainability of these local villages. So how do we make all these trade-offs, you think?
Actually, it's a very good question. And as I said, this is one of the main challenges in developing, I can say, rural tourism in rural area. The economic diversification that can be catalyzed by tourism when it comes to remote area is definitely going to benefit if there is any development plan from the region, from the country, to connect to main hubs, such as main cities or places where there is a connectivity with planes bringing people directly, or by car, depending on where we are, or by train. And I think train has become a very, very important way to travel. Now, because the people that are going in rural area, they are happy to rent a car, or they even travel by train. It's maybe as well different type of customers. They maybe travel 2,000 kilometers from the country of origin to another country to go in a remote area, because the crisis, the COVID crisis, had taught us as well that we commute differently when it comes to local area. But the most important is, as you said, infrastructure development, roads and connectivity, and as well utility, capacity to absorb a certain volume of external visitors, being it for energy, for water, and so on. So one of the models that really works is that when the vision is embedded, when tourism is part of a model for revitalization of those areas, where it is taken as a holistic approach, which includes, of course, connectivity, but as well utilities that are required to be, an infrastructure building that are required to allow that. But despite all of this, I can say that people always find their way if they discover a place that they are attracted to. And I think the social media are playing an incredible role. I think that I was not with you with the questions on TikTok and others because I joined late. But I think that the social media are creating a completely new sphere of desirable discovery. And what you just earlier said on Culture 3.0, imagination is today certainly one of the most incredible strength or intelligence, while we are creating places and spheres and spaces, such as in the metaverse, where everybody wants to go and discover. And I think that this is definitely the future.
Yeah. So influencers, I guess, from all countries around the world will have a major
Yes.
impact when it comes
Yes.
to the global tourism industry. What about smart
And
destinations?
There are no barriers in the influencers. You can be in Europe and you follow an influencer in China,
Yeah.
or in Asia Pacific, or in the Americas, and one day you say, I want to go there.
Yeah.
Because it's just breathtaking, the things you discover.
Yeah.
You don't need to read a book. You don't need to go and watch TV. You have it instantly there. And so many other people want to share. I mean, this actually can create a congestion at certain places which were totally unknown, like for example, on beaches in the summer. You check a beach on TikTok, you want to go there, and you find 300 people because it was empty like few days ago before it was on the web. So that's why I'm saying we need to be fast, and we need to follow what our hearts are attracting us to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fanny, you must have taken multiple high-speed rail trips here on the Chinese mainland. Is there a particular route that you might recommend for our audience?
I fly to cities like Beijing, Shanghai for meetings because, of the efficiency. But I pretty much like the idea of, traveling by high-speed train or even train. That's true. There's a lot of cities and a lot of new things that you can discover.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add to the point that the speakers spoke about connectivity and, people, having new behavior in tourism. I'd like to add that people nowadays like really to have co-creation of tourism experiences. If you know what I mean is, you don't just, listen to TVs or you see travel guides, read travel guides, but you really want to go explore, go off the beaten tracks, go mingle with the community, and co-create experiences with them. Like I was reading on the news that tourists like now going to marketplaces, not to shopping malls anymore. They want to understand local customs and taste local delicacies. So I think one way for destinations to promote themselves is that they can use social media, they can use influencers, right? They can mingle them with local community representatives, show them the real authentic local experience. I think co-creation, authenticity, imagination, like Zoritsa used just now, these are buzzwords, right? To create, to really make travel experiences precious and unique.
Yeah. Co-experiences, co-creation experiences when it comes to tourism. I think that's a fantastic idea as well. I got to give a shout out, I feel, to the high-speed rail system here on the Chinese mainland. Dr. Liu, you must have a favorite route. I mean, Fanny was talking about the high-speed rail system in the Greater Bay Area. So that refers to southern China, right? This would be Guangdong Province, 9 major cities in Guangdong Province, and also the Hong Kong and Macao Special Administrative Regions, all linked up. And the high-speed rail system in the Greater Bay Area that Fanny was talking about, absolutely fantastic. Shortens the destination, the travel times by quite a lot.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite route? I mean, Zoritsa was talking about traveling to Hangzhou, which is part of the Yangtze River Delta area, and the traditional Chinese culture that you can find in that part of the country. It's just amazing when it comes to scenery, when it comes to cuisine as well, all linked up by high-speed rail. You can get to different destinations 30 minutes, an hour, no problem. Same thing with the Greater Bay Area. So what about you in terms of your favorite high-speed train route, maybe here in China, and then you can get to these local destinations, co-create experiences, right, with the local community? What do you think?
I think if you let me to recommend the route by high-speed train, I will recommend the places in the west of China.
Okay.
Yeah, is in Guizhou province, in Sichuan, and of course in Shanxi, Xi'an city.
Yeah.
And I think in the past several years, the high-speed trains have been more convenient for those western parts of China. And even before the even before the COVID-19, we've seen an increased demand for the foreign tourists to travel to the west of China, mostly because of the traffic, the traffic by train, make them can travel with less time. So I think if you have time, you can travel by high-speed train in the west part of China. It's become more convenient now. Yeah. And you can reach many small counties. Yeah, even in the western part of China.
Yeah. You mentioned Guizhou province, Dr. Liu. So for our audiences abroad, they might not know that this is an extremely mountainous province.
Yes.
The terrain is unbelievably hilly. There are mountains everywhere. And when I first went to Guizhou province, I was absolutely shocked because the high-speed rail system, the highway system in general, are going through the mountains, zigzagging through the mountains. So you can see absolutely beautiful scenery in Guizhou province. Even though it's so mountainous, it's connected by high-speed rail. And when I got to a remote village, I had full 4G signal. Maybe it's 5G now. So the connectivity, I think, is absolutely amazing.
Even in the remote part of China.
In the remote parts of China. I think that's why infrastructure connectivity is so important. And that's how I think local communities and these local co-creation experiences can really amplify themselves.
Yes,
right? You've got to get the influencers there.
And there's another high-speed train just opened this year. It's really special. It's cross-border. Yeah. From Yunnan province to Laos. To Laos. Yeah. And after I think one of my colleagues have taken this train to Laos. It takes maybe 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours.
3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours. But then the ticket fee is less expensive than domestic tickets, I think.
Wow. Okay, I got to give that route a try because eventually the southwest of China is going to be connected to the entire Southeast Asian mainland. Right? Because it's going to go from Yunnan province, which by itself is a beautiful province. And then through Laos to Thailand, Malaysia, all the way down to Singapore.
So there will be a bigger destination. For both Chinese and foreigners.
Okay, so my goal one of these days when that high-speed rail is connected is to go from Beijing to Singapore via high-speed rail. I've taken the 8-hour high-speed train ride from Beijing to Guangzhou. So that's from the north of the country to the south of the country. Beautiful ride. And then eventually go from Guangzhou to Yunnan province via high-speed rail and then down to Singapore.
Yeah.
It's going to be on my bucket list.
Okay.
Maybe we can
That's
try
the
that
new
out.
Jules Verne. It's the new I don't know if you know, I don't know in English how to say that. Jules Verne, it's the world tour in 80 days.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Jules Verne. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Yeah,
say it in
yeah,
English.
that's
So-
true.
But
Yeah.
trains might become only maybe not on the sea and the oceans. We need to find another solution.
It could
but
be,
we
yeah.
could think about having a world tour by train and with the connectivity by boat. Let's see.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic idea, Zoritsa. So this would be, I guess, the Asia version of the Trans-Siberian Railway, right? And then
That's exactly that.
Yeah.
And you know, when China launched the belt, the Road and Belt Initiative, because there is today a transport train
Oh,
that
yeah.
leaves China, that goes all across the
Europe.
Caucasus, and that reaches Europe.
yeah,
Now, why not thinking of revamping? I have a dream about the Orient Express, huh?
Yeah.
And the stories and the books around that. We should revive that.
yeah, we should. Okay, so I guess that's up to the UNWTO, Zoritsa. It's your job to talk to governments across Eurasia to get that line revived. I think that would be absolutely beautiful to
Let's
try
dream.
on.
Let's dream.
Yeah. Although I do want to ask a more serious question, Zoritsa, because you briefly touched upon geopolitics, and I'm wondering how concerned are you about geopolitical tensions and how it might affect tourism going forward, because we are seeing this uptick when it comes to tensions. Do you think the UNWTO should work more in terms of maintaining open dialogue to continue to support global tourism despite some of the geopolitical tensions that we see?
We are doing only that. This is really at the heart of the work we do.
Yeah.
Intercultural dialogue is definitely part of the DNA, I can say, of the work that we carry out. You certainly know the World Global Code of Ethics
Yeah.
and the Committee on Tourism Ethics. This is the backbone on which the World Tourism Organization has become a UN agency. So I can say we tend to forget, but the 10 principles of the Global Code of Ethics are really the mainstay of the work we do. And you have not been ignoring that UNWTO member states met and made some tough decisions with the region. The problem is that in every country today, because of the multicultural dialogue, there is never a black or a white. Many people have both origins, being it in one country or another. So it makes life difficult for both, but as well the impact around those countries is huge and immense on migration, on the impact, on the loss of potential customers, and of course on the loss of capacity to produce food, on the problems related to energy. So these tensions have a repercussion. And I was mentioning earlier the need to be more energy efficient because energy prices have risen, being it for us individuals or in Europe at least. I mean, I speak to colleagues in Canada, they don't seem to be very much affected by all of this. But I can say in Europe, there is a huge consciousness of the impact of the unrest. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah. So hopefully we can manage, I guess, those tensions and still support global tourism and local community development. Finally, so more responsible, more sustainable, and more inclusive tourism worldwide, I guess. One final question for all of you. So, Dr. Liu, how about let me start with you.
Okay.
A favorite city that you would recommend to global travelers. What is your favorite city to travel to, either here in China or anywhere in the world? What is your favorite city? What is your favorite travel destination?
Actually, there's a small city I really want to share with all of you. It's called Jingdezhen.
Okay, that's still in
It's
China.
famous, yeah, in
Right.
China. I think it's well known in the world because of the China.
Porcelain.
Yeah, so I visited this city last year. I
Yeah.
think during the pandemic. That city is a small one, but it's with it's full of cultural atmosphere, partly because of the heritage from the porcelain industries. They have lots of studios there, and some of studios are managed by foreigners even. Yeah. So you can visit many shops for porcelains for handicrafts. So it's interesting, and there's also a factory, old factory that produced the porcelain long ago, but now it turned to be in a theme park, a cultural park, kind of cultural park, just like Xiangyan.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really interesting, and I think with more talents in the arts, in the porcelain manufacturing, not manufacturing, handicrafts, it will attract more artists in porcelain. And I visited several artists there. They are fun. I think they are optimistic and enthusiastic with what they are doing now. And there's an integration between tourism and the porcelain industry, kind of the handicrafts, things like that. And so I strongly recommend, if you haven't go to that city, you haven't gone to that city, I highly recommend you.
Okay.
You visit that city.
So this is where the term China came from, right? When it comes to the porcelain sense, because the porcelain from Jingdezhen, I think it also was sent up to the imperial capital, but was there a substantial portion that was also exported via the Silk Roads, both the land and the maritime Silk Roads?
Yes.
Okay.
It's really famous, I think, in the history. It's more famous. But with the creative buildings of those old factories, I think you will like that atmosphere. It's quiet. It's a small city. It's not so crowded. You can take the high-speed train to Jingdezhen and then to the really famous countryside destination called Wuyuan. You can just rent a car.
Okay.
You can drive by yourself, going around.
Fanny, so Jingdezhen is Dr. Liu's option. What about you? What is your favorite travel destination in the world?
Well, there are many, but if you really want me to choose, I'd like to choose the Maldives.
The Maldives. Okay.
Yes. And why is there was a day when I was there at sunset, sitting by the shore, looking out at the very beautiful sunset. I could almost touch the sky.
Wow.
And then you look down, you look at deep down into the ocean, into the marine life, so beautiful. That reminds us of one thing, that human beings are just so tiny a part of all nature. And that Mother Nature has been sustaining, supporting us for so long, that we have to teach our younger generation to protect the environment, to protect Mother Earth, right? So this is all the sustainability is all about that UNWTO and PARTHA is promoting, which is so important. So while we travel, we must not forget to be responsible travelers.
Absolutely.
Right? And also nowadays, we talk a lot about, we are all concerned about the ocean nowadays. Right? So this destination really strikes me as a place that must always remind us of how precious our natural resources are. And many of these natural resources cannot be reborn. I mean, you cannot replenish that easily. And I also hope that tourism can serve as a channel to promote peace and understanding across nations. Zoritsa has thought about this multicultural dialogue. But I think tourism can really serve as a channel to promote peace and understanding across different cultures. After all, we are living on this very, very small world. You talk about connectivity with trains. Well, this is really nowadays a global village, right? It takes maybe, I don't know how many days, less than how many hours can go from one destination to another. We are all living in this very small but very precious planet.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom there, Fanny, and being able to connect with nature, being at one with nature in the Maldives. Zoritsa, over to you. You have the global view. If you had to choose one city that you would recommend to a global traveler, your favorite travel destination, which city would it be?
Very difficult question, because first of all, I am not a big city lover because I love nature. But if I have to choose, I have four. Florence,
Florence.
Florence.
in Italy,
Mm-hmm.
which has an incredible human dimension with a very strong art feel, culture, activity, incredible people,
Yeah.
beautiful colors, and really a place where I feel good.
Yeah.
Then I have Paris because of the beautiful light and the feel.
Yeah.
And then lately I have discovered Riyadh
Uh-huh.
in Saudi Arabia and Alula, which is like incredible places. Like they were not open to the world, so maybe this is where the attractiveness lies as well. But Alula is just incredible place. It is from the same civilization as Petra, if you know Petra,
Yeah.
in Jordan. It's these hidden, incredible cities that are carved in stone where people were living, whatever. And then, then I lived in the Seychelles, like my friend from the Maldives. Seychelles is completely different. I lived 12 years in the Seychelles by choice because I love the ocean.
Yeah.
And one of the most striking places in the world is a red desert, the oldest desert on earth in Namibia,
Wow.
where when you fly with a little plane, when the sunset comes down, is like you have the red desert, you have the deep blue ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and then you have the sun going down. That is just magnificent. It's worth going there.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow, so many good destinations. So let me quickly recap, Zoritsa. You chose Florence, Paris, of course, Riyadh, the Seychelles, the Red Desert of Namibia. Fantastic choices. Okay, and I guess for me, I think I have to recommend to everyone China's tropical island of Hainan province. The entire province, I would say. I mean, there is a high-speed rail that connects the entire, it goes around the entire Hainan province.
I go there next time I come to China.
Next time come to China, make sure to check out Hainan. I think it's a great destination when it comes to culture, history, and civilization.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
With the Danube.
Yeah.
It's some cities are really magical because they have water.
Absolutely, exactly.
And
if you have a river
that one
through.
has an incredible. It's like an ocean in the middle of the city. The water there, the river.
Absolutely. I feel like we can
us.
talk about global tourism all day, and perhaps I need to take a vacation soon, or maybe all of us can pack our bags and start traveling soon. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And that's going to wrap up this edition of Biz Talk here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wang here in Beijing. Hope all of you can travel around soon. Bye for now.